let's talk about the playbook for one of the most exciting and, believe it or not, one of the most dangerous things that could ever happen to you. We're talking about getting rich overnight. And the very first move you make, well, that could also be your last. I mean, seriously, just take a second and imagine it. That crypto you bought as a joke suddenly moons. Or that little side project you've been working on explodes. You check your bank account, and there are a whole lot more zeros than there were yesterday. So what do you do first? Of course. The natural reaction is to just let it out. Shout it from the rooftops, post a story online, maybe call up that old high school bully and, well, you get the idea. It's a totally understandable feeling, right? It's the one we've all daydreamed about. But here's the crazy twist. That first instinct, the one that feels so right, it's the absolute worst thing you can possibly do. The best move, the smartest move, is the complete opposite. Stay quiet. Tell no one. And why is staying quiet so critical? Well, it's because of this hidden trap, this hidden danger that comes with every single sudden windfall. The second that word gets out, everything in your life changes. People you haven't heard from in years will suddenly crawl out of the woodwork. It turns out, money doesn't really change people. It just reveals who they've always been. And overnight, your new fortune has painted a giant target on your back. So, how in the world do you avoid this trap? Well, the solution isn't just a tactic. It's a whole philosophy, a mindset that we're going to call the stealth rich approach. And here's the most important part of this whole thing. Being stealth rich means you get all the freedom and the benefits of wealth, but you fly completely under the radar. Privacy becomes your single most valuable asset. It's what protects you from the chaos that public money always attracts. And nothing illustrates these two paths better than the story of Jacques Whitaker. He won over $300 million in the lottery, and, well, he was the exact opposite of stealth rich. He went public, he was on the news, he gave away millions, bought friends new houses, new cars. I mean, the guy had a good heart, but that visibility, that was his downfall. Because Jack went public, he immediately became a magnet for every bad thing you can imagine. He was a constant target for theft, for lawsuits, for scams. His most important relationships crumbled, his wife divorced him, and tragically, he eventually lost his family and every single penny of his fortune. This is the brutal, brutal price of public wealth. Okay, so if you can't tell your friends or your family, who do you tell? Just one person, an attorney, a good one. They're going to help you set up something called a trust, which is this incredibly powerful tool for privacy that could also, by the way, save you millions in taxes. This needs to be your first and your most important phone call. All right, so let's get into the actionable stuff, the playbook. Here are the immediate, critical steps you absolutely have to take in the first 6 months. Think of this as your emergency checklist. Number 1, you hire that attorney we just talked about. Number 2, and this is so key, you keep your life as normal as humanly possible for at least 6 months. No new cars, no new house. This is your cooling off period, and it stops you from making rash emotional decisions. And third, you start what we call a debt reset. And a huge part of keeping life normal means not quitting your job right away. I know, it sounds crazy. But trust me, being rich and bored is a recipe for disaster. You'll spend all day just thinking of ways to spend money. And that often leads to really bad investments in things you know absolutely nothing about. So what is this debt reset? It's your very first financial move. Before you buy anything flashy, you take a chunk of that money and pay off your highest interest debts. We're talking credit cards, personal loans. Think about it. Wiping out a debt with a 20% interest rate is the same as getting a guaranteed 20% return on your money. It's the smartest investment you can possibly make, period. Okay, now for what is easily the hardest part, dealing with the people closest to you. They will, whether they mean to or not, feel entitled to a piece of your new wealth. And to protect both them and your relationships in the long run, you have to adopt this tough mindset. Lending money to friends and family is the absolute fastest way to destroy relationships. It just is. So if you genuinely want to help someone, the strategy is to give a one-time generous gift. But you have to make it crystal clear that this is a one-off and that they can never, ever ask for money again. It's a really tough conversation, but it's a necessary one. Okay, so once you've stabilized your life, you've handled those immediate challenges, now it's time to build the foundation for wealth that actually lasts. This right here is the fundamental rule that separates the temporarily rich from the permanently wealthy. You protect your core wealth, that's the principle, and you learn to live off the growth it generates. This is how you make your money last, not just for your lifetime, but for generations to come. So, how much do you actually need to follow that rule? Well, you calculate what's called your freedom figure. And here's the simple formula. First, you figure out the annual income you need to live your ideal life. Then you just multiply that number by 25. That gives you the total amount you need to have invested to live off the interest pretty much forever. Let's make that really concrete. Let's say your dream life costs you about $200,000 a year. Well, you take that $200K, you multiply it by 25, and your freedom figure is $5 million. Once you have that amount invested and working for you, you are financially free. So, what do you do with that $5 million? You don't just let it sit in a checking account. Oh no, you build what's called a preservation portfolio. And this here is a great example. You'd have a healthy mix of stocks and bonds for growth and stability, some real estate for that nice cash flow, maybe a small, high-risk moonshot bet like crypto, and a good chunk in savings for emergencies. It's a balanced approach designed to make your money work for you forever.
And this really gets to the heart of it all, doesn't it? The whole goal of becoming stealth rich isn't to buy a garage full of Lamborghinis. It's to buy back your time. It's the freedom to wake up every single morning and have complete and total control over your day, your life, and your choices. That's the real prize.
And so we end with this question. Because this whole blueprint, it's not just about protecting money. It's about using that money as a tool to architect a life of real purpose and freedom. So, take a second and ask yourself, what are you truly building?